His phone lit up on the kitchen counter as Amara reached for the kettle. She wasn't the type to check phones. She trusted him. But the screen was facing up. If she finds out, handle it. Her hand froze. The kettle hissed behind her, steam rising, but she couldn't move. Handle it. Handle what? She picked up the phone. The message was from a contact saved only as H. No name. No photo. She scrolled. Timeline moved up. Don't let her go to Itaewon this weekend. Keep her close until we're clear. Her breath shortened. This wasn't cheating. This was something else. Something that made her feel like the ground beneath her had started to crack. The apartment door clicked open behind her. Amara. His voice was calm, warm, the same voice she trusted. She set the phone down and turned to him. Minho stood there smiling, already asking if she was okay. In that moment, she understood something terrifying. She wasn't his girlfriend. She was a problem. Stay with me, because what she discovered didn't just change him, it changed her place in Korea forever. The rain started that night. Not the soft kind that lulls you to sleep, but the heavy, relentless kind that drowns out thought. Amara lay in bed next to Minho, her body still, her mind racing. He was asleep. He always fell asleep easily, like a man with nothing to hide. She stared at the ceiling, listening to the rain hammer against the window, and tried to make sense of what she'd seen. Handle it. Handle her. She replayed every conversation they'd had over the past 6 months. Every moment where he'd been kind, protective, present. She'd thought he was different. She'd thought he saw her. But now those same moments felt different. Reframed. Like scenes from a movie where you realize the hero was the villain all along. She didn't confront him. Not that night. Not the next morning either. She watched him move through the apartment with that same easy calm, making coffee, asking if she wanted breakfast, kissing her goodbye before he left for work. And she smiled. She nodded. She played the part. Because what else could she do? She was a Black woman in South Korea. Alone. No family here. No deep roots. Her visa was tied to her teaching job, and even that felt fragile some days. The stairs on the subway. The way Ajumas moved their bags when she sat down. The men who assumed things about her before she even opened her mouth. Minho had been her shield against all of that. He'd made her feel safe, but now she wondered. Safe from what? And at what cost? She spent that day in a fog. Her students asked her questions, and she answered. She smiled. She taught the lesson. But inside, she was somewhere else entirely. In her mind, she was scrolling through his phone again, reading those messages, trying to decode a language she didn't speak. Who was H? What did they want? And why did it involve her? By the time she got home, the questions had multiplied. She sat on the couch, staring at nothing, and let herself ask the one question she'd been avoiding all day. Who else knows about me? The thought made her skin crawl. It wasn't paranoia. It was something worse. It was the realization that she'd been moving through her life thinking she was invisible, insignificant, when in reality, someone had been watching. Someone had been deciding things about her. For her. She thought back to 6 months ago, before Minho. Before any of this made sense, she'd been sitting in a cafe in Hongdae, one of those aesthetic places with plants hanging from the ceiling and overpriced lattes. She went there sometimes after work, just to decompress, just to exist without performing. That day, she'd been reading, her headphones in, when someone sat down across from her. She looked up, startled. He was Korean, tall, with sharp features and a quiet intensity that made her immediately cautious. But then he smiled, and something in his expression softened. "Sorry," he said in English. "I know this is forward, but you looked like you could use company." She frowned. I'm fine, actually. I don't doubt it, he said. But this place gets loud around this time. Thought you might want someone to share the table with. Less chance of being bothered. She glanced around. He was right. The cafe was filling up fast, and she'd already had 2 guys hover near her table, trying to catch her eye. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay, thanks. That was how it started. Simple, unassuming. He didn't ask invasive questions. He didn't make assumptions. He just sat there, drinking his Americano, occasionally making small talk. And when he left, he didn't ask for her number. He just said, "Hope your day gets better," and walked out. She saw him again the next week. Same cafe, different table. He waved. She waved back. This time, he asked if he could sit with her, and she said yes. His name was Minho. He worked in business, he said. Something vague about consulting. He didn't talk much about himself, but he asked about her. Where she was from. Why she came to Korea. What it was like teaching. And when she told him about the hard days, the microaggressions, the loneliness, he listened. Really listened. He didn't try to fix it. He didn't tell her it wasn't that bad. He just said, "That sounds exhausting." It was the first time someone in Korea had said that to her. And it broke something open inside her. They started meeting regularly. Coffee turned into dinners. Dinners turned into walks along the Han River. And somewhere along the way, she stopped being cautious. She let him in. He was different from anyone she'd dated. Calm, controlled. He never raised his voice. Never pressured her. When they went out, he always chose places where she'd feel comfortable. Quiet restaurants, private spaces. He said it was because he wanted her to relax, to not have to deal with stares or judgment. She thought it was care. Now, she wondered if it was control. He became her shield in public. When men stared too long, he'd step closer, his presence enough to make them look away. When Ajumas muttered under their breath, he'd switch to Korean, his tone sharp and final, and they'd go quiet. She never knew what he said, but it worked. And she was grateful. Maybe too grateful. She remembered one night, early in their relationship, when they'd been walking through Gangnam. A group of drunk men had catcalled her, and before she could even react, Minho had turned around. He didn't yell, he didn't fight, he just looked at them. And they stopped. One of them even bowed, apologized. She'd asked him later, "What did you say to them?" He'd shrugged. Nothing important, just reminded them to be respectful. She'd laughed it off. But now, replaying that moment, she felt a chill. It wasn't what he said. It was the way they'd reacted. Like they knew him. Like they feared him. She'd ignored the red flags. Or maybe she hadn't seen them at all. The way he avoided talking about his family. The way he never posted photos of them together. The way he'd disappear sometimes, for hours, with no explanation, and then come back like nothing had happened. Once, she'd asked to meet his friends. He'd smiled and said, "Soon. I just want to keep you to myself a little longer." It had sounded romantic at the time. Now it sounded like a lie. Another time, his phone had rung during dinner. He'd glanced at the screen, and his entire demeanor had shifted. The warmth drained from his face. He'd excused himself, stepped outside, and when he came back 10 minutes later, he was different. Tense, distracted. "Everything okay?" she'd asked. "Work," he'd said. And that was it. No details, no follow-up, just work. She'd let it go. She always let it go. Because what right did she have to push? They'd only been together a few months. She didn't want to be that girlfriend. The one who demanded answers. The one who couldn't trust. But maybe she should have been. The signs were there. She just didn't know they were warning her. Now, sitting alone in his apartment, she couldn't ignore them anymore. She grabbed her laptop and opened a search engine. She typed his name, Kim Min-ho. Thousands of results. Too many. She scrolled through pages of random men, none of them him. She tried adding soul and consulting. Nothing. She tried different spellings, English versions, Korean characters. Still nothing. Then she remembered something. Once she'd seen his business card on the counter. She'd glanced at it without thinking much of it. The name had been slightly different. Not Kim Min-ho. Kim Min-ho. One character different. One small shift that changed everything. She typed it in. The first result made her stomach drop. It was an article, 3 years old. A photo of several men in suits standing outside a corporate building. She recognized him immediately. Same face, same posture. But the caption underneath didn't say Kim Min-ho. It said Kim Min-jun. Her hands started to shake. She clicked on the article. It was in Korean, but she ran it through a translator. The words came out clunky, but the meaning was clear. Kim Min-jun, eldest son of the Kim family, seen at Industry Summit. Sources say the family's influence continues to expand across multiple sectors. She stared at the screen. The Kim family. She didn't know who they were, but something about the way the article was written made it clear. They weren't just wealthy. They were powerful. She clicked another link, then another. Construction companies. Real estate. Import, export. The articles were vague, carefully worded, like journalists choosing phrases with surgical precision. One mentioned political ties. Another hinted at law enforcement connections. A third referenced entertainment and media expansion. The more she read, the less she understood. But the fear became sharper. This wasn't just wealth. This was power. The kind that moved quietly. The kind that didn't need to announce itself. She found more photos, galas, politicians, corporate summits. In every image, people deferred to him. Slight bows, maintained distance. Even when he smiled, something in his posture kept others at bay. She'd thought he was private. Now she understood he was hidden. There was a difference. Her phone buzzed. A text from him. Working late tonight, don't wait up. 3 months ago, she would have sent a heart emoji. Now she wondered where he really was. Who he was really with. She didn't respond. She kept searching. By midnight, her eyes burned, but she couldn't stop. She found an anonymous forum where people traded gossip about chaebols and powerful families. She scrolled through threads about the Kims, rumors about deals that never made the news, whispers about politicians in their pocket, stories about people who'd crossed them and vanished from public life. One comment stood out. The Kims don't just have power, they have reach. If they want something gone, it's gone. If they want someone silent, they go silent. That's not influence. That's control. She closed the laptop. Her hands trembled. Not just afraid now, but angry. Angry at him for lying. Angry at herself for not seeing it. Angry at being placed in something without her consent. The next morning, Min-ho came home as she was leaving for work. Tired. Tie loosened. Hair disheveled. He smiled when he saw her, but it didn't reach his eyes. Hey, you're up early. Staff meeting, she lied. He nodded, moving toward the bedroom. I'll see you tonight then. She almost let it go. Almost walked out and pretended everything was normal. Min-ho. He turned. Yeah? She pulled out her phone. The screenshot. His photo. She held it up. Who are you? The air changed instantly. His expression barely shifted, just a tightening around his eyes. But it was enough. He walked back slowly, gaze fixed on her phone. Where did you get that? The internet. It wasn't hard. He stopped. Amara. Don't. She cut him off. Don't say my name like you're about to explain this away. Who are you? Silence. Then he sighed and sat on the couch, elbows on knees, hands clasped. What do you want to know? Everything, starting with your real name. Kim Min-jun. Minho is easier, less complicated, less traceable. He looked up. Yes. Her heart pounded. And your family? They own businesses. Several of them. I read that part. What I want to know is why you lied. He rubbed his face. Because I wanted something normal. Just for a while. I wanted to be someone who wasn't... This? This? You mean powerful? Connected? I mean watched, controlled. Every move I make is scrutinized. Every person I talk to is vetted. Every relationship is managed. I can't just exist, Amara. I haven't been able to since I was a kid. She felt sympathy flicker but stamped it down. So you lied. I didn't lie, I just didn't tell you everything. That's the same thing. You let me believe you were someone you're not. You let me trust you. I was protecting you. The words hung between them. Protecting me from what? He looked away. From this. From my life. From the people in it. What people? The ones sending you messages about me? The ones who told you to handle it? His head snapped up. You went through my phone? You left it on the counter, and I saw a message that said if I found out, you should handle it. Handle me. Like I'm a problem to be solved. His jaw tightened. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Because from where I'm standing, I've been some kind of liability. Something you had to manage, keep quiet. That's not true. Then tell me the truth. Tell me why you hid me, why we never took photos together, why I've never met anyone from your real life. Tell me why I feel like I've been living in a cage I didn't even know existed. He stood, rattled for the first time. Because they would have made you disappear. The words hit like cold water. She stepped back. What? My family. If they'd known about you from the beginning, if they'd known I was serious about someone they hadn't vetted, they would have made you leave, pressured you, threatened you, made your life here impossible. I've seen them do it before. Her stomach turned. And now? Now they know. And they're deciding what to do about it. Silence suffocated. She'd thought she was uncovering a secret. She hadn't realized she was standing in the middle of it. When did they find out? 2 weeks ago, one of them saw us in Itaewon. What do they want? He met her eyes. They want you gone. The words settled like something she'd already known, a truth she'd been avoiding. And you? What do you want? I want you safe. That's all I've ever wanted. That's not an answer. He looked away. In that silence, she got her answer. Something broke inside her. Not her heart. Something deeper. The part that had believed she could build a life here. The part that had believed she mattered. I need to go. Amara. No. I need space. She grabbed her bag. Please don't do anything rash. She stopped at the door. Rash? I'm not the one who's been lying for 6 months. I'm not the one with a family deciding whether I'm allowed to exist here. Don't talk to me about rash. She walked out. Rain again. She walked through it without an umbrella, letting it soak through everything. Her phone buzzed. Texts from him. She ignored them. She ended up at a convenience store, dripping water onto the floor. The clerk looked concerned but said nothing. She bought coffee she didn't want and sat outside under the awning. One thought kept rising. She wasn't safe. She'd thought Minho's protection was about love, but it wasn't. It was containment. Control. She'd been living in a cage and mistaken the bars for shelter. What could she do? No power, no connections, no leverage. Just a foreign teacher with a 1-year contract and a tourist's understanding of how things worked. Leaving meant what? Going home to what? She'd burned bridges to start over in Seoul. Her phone buzzed. Not a text. A call. Unknown number. Hello? Miss Thompson? A woman's voice. Smooth. Professional. Perfect English. Yes? My name is Hannah Kim. I work with the Kim family. I was hoping we could meet. Amara's blood went cold. I don't think that's a good idea. I understand you're upset, but it would be in your best interest to hear what I have to say. How did you get this number? A pause. Miss Thompson, I think you know the answer. Of course they had her number. They had everything. Her address, workplace, visa status, every detail available with a single phone call. What do you want? Just a conversation. Blank coffee near Gangnam Station. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Table in the back. And if I don't come? Longer pause. Then we'll have to handle things differently. And I don't think you want that. The line went dead. Amara sat there, staring at her phone, rain drumming on the awning. Handle things differently. The same language from the text. The same veiled threat wrapped in professional courtesy. She went home. Not to Minho's apartment, but to her own place. She'd kept it even after spending most nights at his. Some instinct she hadn't understood until now. She didn't sleep. She sat on her bed, laptop open, searching for Hannah Kim. There were several women with that name, but only one connected to the Kim family. Hannah Kim, director of operations for Kim Holdings. Elegant, sharp-eyed, smile that never reached past her lips, business profiles, Korean magazine interviews, described as efficient, discreet, utterly loyal. One article called her the fixer, another, the woman who makes problems disappear. Amara closed the laptop. Her hands shook. The next day dragged. She taught on autopilot. At 1:55, she stood outside Blank Coffee, wondering if she should walk away. But she knew she couldn't. They'd already made that clear. She walked inside. Modern. Minimalist. White walls and blonde wood. Hannah Kim sat at the back table. Cream blazer. Tea. When she saw Amara, she smiled and gestured to the empty chair. Miss Thompson, thank you for coming. Amara sat but didn't return the smile. Let's get this over with. Hannah's smile didn't falter. Direct. I appreciate that. I'll be direct too. The family is concerned about your relationship with Min-jun. He goes by Minho. Yes. He's always preferred that name. More Western. The word sounded distasteful. The family understands you and Min-jun have formed an attachment, but I'm sure you understand why this presents complications. Because I'm black. Hannah tilted her head. Because you're unknown. No background we can verify. Your presence creates vulnerabilities the family cannot accept. Vulnerabilities? You mean I'm an embarrassment? I mean you're a risk. The Kim family operates where perception matters. Image is everything. Min-jun is the eldest son. He will inherit significant responsibility. The woman beside him will be scrutinized by business partners, political allies, competitors. Can you honestly say you're prepared for that? Heat rose in Amara's chest. You don't know anything about me. I know you've been in Korea for 2 years. I know you teach English at a hagwon in Mapo. 1-year visa expiring in 4 months. $2,300 in your account. $16,000 in student loan debt. Your mother calls every Sunday and you don't always answer. Hannah paused. Should I continue? The heat turned to ice. We know everything, Miss Thompson. That's what we do. And what we know is you are not prepared for Min-jun's life. You would be miserable. More importantly, you would be a distraction he cannot afford. Did he ask you to do this? He doesn't know. I'm here, but he will thank me later. They always do. Who's they? Hannah sipped her tea. You're not the first woman Min-jun has brought into his life. A girl in university, another during military service. Both times, the family stepped in. Both times, arrangements were made. Both times, everyone moved on. Amara felt sick. What arrangements? The practical kind. Financial assistance to relocate, help securing positions elsewhere, compensation for time invested. Hannah pulled an envelope from her bag, set it on the table. We're prepared to offer you the same courtesy. Amara stared at it. You're trying to pay me to leave. We're offering you an opportunity to leave with dignity and resources, a generous severance. I'm not an employee you can fire. No, but you can make a choice. Accept our help and start fresh somewhere new, or refuse and discover how difficult life in Korea can become for someone without connections. The threat was clear now. Raw truth. What would happen if I refuse? Hannah set down her cup. Visa renewal complications, employer complaints from parents, apartment lease issues. The city you know becomes suddenly unwelcoming. Not violently, not dramatically. Just difficult. One obstacle after another until leaving becomes easier. Tears pricked Amara's eyes, but she wouldn't let them fall. And Minho? He'll be upset. For a time. But he'll move on. He always does. Hannah pushed the envelope closer. $50,000. Enough to clear your debts. Start over. Maybe home. Maybe somewhere new. More than most people get for 6 months. $50,000. Pay off loans. Figure out what she wanted. Leave this mess behind. But she'd know. Always know she'd been bought. Erased. I need to think about it. Hannah nodded. 48 hours. After that, the offer expires and we handle things our way. She stood, smoothing her blazer. I hope you make the right choice, Miss Thompson. For everyone's sake. She walked out, leaving Amara alone with the envelope and an impossible decision. Amara didn't open it. She shoved it in her bag and walked out, mind spinning. $50,000. A clean exit. But all she felt was rage. By the time she made it back to her apartment, it was dark. Minho was waiting outside her building. I've been calling you. I know. Amara, please. We need to talk. She walked past him to unlock the door. Did you know? About Hannah? He followed her inside. What? Did you know your family sent someone to pay me to leave? His face went pale. They what? Don't act surprised. She threw her bag on the bed. The envelope tumbled out. $50,000. That's what I'm worth. $50,000 to disappear. He picked it up, jaw tight. I didn't know. But you knew they'd do something. Silence. Your family is trying to erase me. And you've known this whole time that they could. That they would. And you just let me walk into it. I was trying to protect you. No. You were trying to have both. Your family and me. But you can't. You never could. And instead of being honest, you let me believe I mattered. You do matter. Then prove it. Tell your family no. Tell them you choose me. The silence stretched. She saw the struggle in his eyes, the war between what he wanted and what he knew he had to do. And she knew. She'd always known. He couldn't choose her. Because choosing her meant losing everything else. And he wasn't strong enough. I thought so. Amara, get out. Please. Get out. Her voice broke. Tears finally spilled over. You've already chosen. Now leave. He stood there looking like he wanted to say something, but there was nothing left. He set the envelope on the table and walked out. Amara locked the door and slid down against it, letting herself cry. Not just for him. For everything. For the life she'd tried to build. For the safety she thought she'd found. For the version of herself that had believed love could be enough. Safety that costs your voice is not safety. She understood that now. The next morning she called the Hagwon. Personal leave. Then she started packing. Just essentials. Clothes, documents, photos. What mattered? She wasn't taking the money, but she was leaving. On her terms, not pushed out, choosing to walk away. There was a difference. Small, maybe. But it mattered. She booked a flight for 3 days later. Time to close things out. Say goodbye to students. Turn in keys. Leave properly. Not running. Choosing. Minho called 17 times. She didn't answer. He texted. She didn't respond. He showed up that night. She didn't let him in. Just spoke through the door. I'm leaving. Not because of your family. Because of you. Because you taught me what I won't accept anymore. Amara, please. I hope you find someone they approve of. I hope she makes you happy. I hope you never have to choose. Because I don't think you could. She heard him lean against the door, his breathing heavy and uneven. Then, after a long moment, he walked away. On her last day, she walked through Seoul one final time. Hongdae, the Han River, Gangnam. She let herself feel sad, grieve, but also something else. Relief, clarity, strength. She'd survived something she was never meant to see, and she'd chosen herself. The flight left at midnight. When she landed, she took a cab to her mother's house. Her mother didn't ask questions, just hugged her. Welcome home, baby. Amara stayed for 2 weeks, then a month, then 2. She didn't make plans, just existed, healing. She got a job at a community center teaching English to immigrants. Simple, quiet, but it was hers, and that mattered. 3 months after leaving Korea, a notification, a news article. Kim family embroiled in corruption scandal, eldest son implicated. She clicked. Allegations of bribery, money laundering, abuse of power, prosecutors investigating. Assets frozen, Min Jun questioned about illegal transactions. The empire was crumbling. The family that seemed untouchable was being torn apart. She didn't know how to feel. Part vindicated, part sad, mostly distant. Like it was happening to people she'd once known but no longer remembered clearly. She closed the article. Whatever happened to them wasn't her concern anymore. She'd walked away, chosen herself. That choice had saved her, because she understood now what she hadn't then. Power without conscience is just control. Protection without freedom is just a cage, and love that costs your voice is not love at all. She'd learned that the hard way, but she'd learned it. Sitting in her small apartment, surrounded by people who saw her fully, she realized something else. She was free. Not free from struggle or pain or uncertainty, but free from being someone else's problem. Free from making herself smaller to fit spaces that were never meant for her. Free from the lie that she needed someone else's power to protect her. She had survived something she was never meant to see. And in surviving it, she'd found something stronger than protection. She'd found herself. If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button for more Afro-Korean stories that don't shy away from the complicated truth. Drop a comment. What would you have done in Amara's position? And if you know someone who needs to hear a story about choosing yourself, share this with them. Sometimes we need to see it before we can do it. Thanks for staying with me. I'll see you in the next one.